My name's Mark, and today I'm going to be talking about the recent renovation we've done of our family home in the Hills of Research, about 30 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. But before I get started, I'd just like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional owners of this land, and pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So our house, originally built in the 1970s, is situated on about 6.5 acres of woodland fringe in Melbourne's outskirts. The property's got no connection to the water, gas or sewer network. And since we bought the place in 2015, we've undertaken a wide range of works to both the house and to the surrounding landscape, which culminated in a large renovation in 2019. The primary reasons for our renovation were to provide extra room for our growing family of 5, to achieve much higher levels of thermal comfort than the original home was providing, to move towards net zero emissions, and to increase resilience to bushfire. So this aerial photo shows the scale of our recent renovation. As you can see, we kept the same building footprint, added a second storey, and made extensive changes throughout. Those with a keen eye to detail will see that the existing footprint wasn't really well orientated for passive heating, which is certainly one of the many constraints we faced during the renovation. But we still incorporated many aspects of sustainability into these works, and today I'm going to focus on 3 core themes: bushfire risk, our water supply and treatment, and our energy use and generation. So first off, building to bushfire attack level 40 or BAL 40. And fringe, bushfire really is a significant risk for us. Our home was actually rated to bushfire attack level 29, which is the 3rd highest level, but we wanted to gain some extra protection, so we decided to build to the 2nd highest level of protection, which is called BAL level 40. So a key design response for us was to change from a flat roof to a pitched roof, to provide less opportunity for leaves and debris to accumulate on the roof and in the gutters. And along with the introduction of the gutter guard, this has been an absolute game changer in the amount of organic material we get collected in our gutters. Around the home, we've also changed the garden layout and our paving to ensure that there's a fuel break around the entire house. Only one garden now directly abuts the house, and that one we've planted a succulent garden on the south face, and that's obviously very low flammability. So one of the aspects you consider when doing renovations is the amount of embodied energy associated with material selection. And an unfortunate implication of building to BAL 40 is that you tend to be forced into using materials that have quite high embodied energy. So previously our walls were clad with a combination of brick and the cedar weatherboards, and those cedar weatherboards were just like tinders ready to go. So retaining the brick where practical, we replaced all of the cedar with colorbond and fibre cement cladding. And for our deck, which had previously been all comprised of softwood, we replaced that with a fibre cement hardy deck product that's fully enclosed with colorbond walls underneath. And one of the advantages for us here was knowing that we weren't contributing to unsustainable hardwood logging in choosing this deck product, but unfortunately it does have the trade-off of having relatively high levels of embodied energy. Another key component for building to bushfire is glazing. So the views over the valley are a really unique feature of our home, and we wanted to make sure we maximise those. But it did mean a lot of glazing. So we've got over 40 windows and 6 glass doors to be precise. So when I looked around, there weren't many cost-affordable options for glazing that was certified to BAL 40, unfortunately. And we weren't really in a position to adopt some of the high-end thermally broken glazing options that were out there that could withstand BAL 40. So we settled on Rylock's aluminium-framed double-glazed units. They're BAL 40 certified, argon-filled, and they've got a low-air glass. So they're still a huge improvement over what we had, but probably not as good as the best products can provide. But we've certainly noticed a major improvement in comfort since we moved back into the home. So moving on to the next theme now of water supply and treatment. And obviously our moves here were hugely influenced by being off the potable water and sewage grids. So when we bought our house back in 2015, the existing house had a mishmash of tanks in variable condition, which were sitting just to the north of the house, and exceptionally inefficient guttering. Most of the rain tended to flood the house rather than fill our tanks. So we made some major changes to our water supply. We repurposed one of the existing 10,000 litre poly tanks and put that so it could capture all the water from the household roof. We then had an 80,000 litre colorbond tank installed at the top of the hill for potable water use, and a new electric pump and float switch that automatically pumps to the top header tank whenever the lower poly tank fills. This also allowed us to put in a decent cartridge filtration system, so now only filtered water gets into our potable water tank. Alongside the potable water tank, we've got a 24,000 litre poly tank that we use for the garden. This fills from a nearby shed, as well as occasionally pumping from the dam at the bottom of the hill. And then in addition to all of that, due to the bushfire regulations, we also need to install another 10,000 litre steel tank for a dedicated firefighting supply. That one's tucked underneath our deck at the front of the house. It's plumbed into a fire hydrant with CFA couplings on the driveway, and we've also provisioned pipes up into the roof cavity for potential addition of bushfire sprinklers in future if we want to. So with all these changes, that now means we've got a clean filtered source of water for the house that requires pretty minimal maintenance. And I've estimated we've got about 3 years potable supply when the tank fills, like it did this winter. Also, in the odd occasion that we do lose grid power, we can now continue to have water to the house because it's gravity fed with the header tank at the top of the hill. Now, internally, we've done what we can to work with our appliance and fitting selection to minimise water use. Things like shower heads, dishwasher, washing machine have all been conscious of that. But the favourite addition for me has been the 3 red water diverters that we've installed. So I've got a little loop video showing these ones, and how these work is when the hot water tap's turned on, the devices take the initial flush of cold water that's making its way through that was cooled in the pipes, and they redivert that cold water back into my potable water tank until the hot water arrives at the tap. So I've got these connected to both the vanity and shower in each of our bathrooms. They're a really good Australian-made product and working really brilliantly, so I'd certainly highly recommend them. At the other end of the water cycle, we had to replace our failing septic tank shortly after moving in, and so after some investigation, we found the worm farm wastewater treatment system was going to work best for us. This has got really low energy use, unlike the wastewater treatment plants that have aeration blowers, and it requires no chemical treatment. Another bonus for us is it's got plenty of surge capacity, so if we're ever allowed to have mass gatherings again in Victoria in the house, then there's no issues with having lots of people over to your house for a party. You're not going to overflow the tank. And now to cover off on our last thing, energy use and generation. So, as I mentioned at the start, one of our really important objectives was to move towards net zero emissions, and solar PV has been central to that. In our previous homes, we've previously installed a 1.5 kilowatt system in about 2007, and then a 3.5 kilowatt system in 2013 at a different house. So this time we really were keen to go as large as possible. Unfortunately, as you can see, the existing footprint of our house isn't really well aligned for solar. We've got a lot of trees to the north of our house, which are a bit higher up in the landscape, which poses some pretty significant shading issues, and the pitch roof design also actually meant that we didn't have many roof faces to get really large spans of PV panels. So to address that, we installed a solar edge system with optimizers. And now, just looking at the consumption data that's come through from that in the chart there, you can see that during the summer, our generation's actually pretty close to the theoretical amount. But our actual production has dropped quite a way beneath the theoretical maximum in the cooler months. For us, we'd never really entertain or be allowed to remove all those trees to the north, so that's just something that we're going to be stuck with and the best PV output we're going to be able to achieve. Quite a unique aspect of our electricity connection is that we've got a 2-phase connection to the property, and this has been quite helpful in a way because it allowed us to have 2 separate 5 kilowatt inverters to hook up to that 9.9 kilowatt PV system. The advantage of that is that we can feed 5 kilowatts back into the grid when our generations exceed our demand in summer in particular, which allows us to export more renewable energy into the grid than a standard 1-phase household. And to minimise energy use inside the house, we replaced our existing electric cooktop with induction and our existing electric hot water service with a Stiebel heat pump. They've both been in for about 3 years now. We also put a hot water tap into the kitchen for our dishwasher water supply, and by doing that we can use the preheated water that came from our heat pump to reduce the amount of extra heating that the dishwasher has to do during its cycle. Our space heating consists of a quadrifire slow combustion wood heater, which is complemented by several Dakin high efficiency multi-split reverse cycle units. Now I know that wood heating can be a controversial topic, but it works for us here because we only use fallen wood from our property. We don't have close neighbours, and also having it installed was quite important for us to try and reduce some of the huge drafts that were previously flowing in down the chimney through the existing gaping open fireplace and into our living room. So on that note, I hope this virtual tour of our home has helped build your understanding of some of the trade-offs involved in renovations and what features can work well on properties off the water and sewer grids. If you want to know more, then I'm always happy to talk to others about what I've been doing and things like that. So I welcome anyone to get in touch with me via email on mark@markstacey.com.au. I hope you enjoy the rest of your sustainable house day.